Hey everyone, James Labrie from Dream Theater, and you're listening to or watching the podcast Talking into Infinity with JT and Brian. Enjoy this. These guys are extremely informative. I love their dialogue. I love their interpretation of the songs, who and what we are, what we were going after. They're very accurate in their interpretations and descriptions, and I just think this is a great show, and these guys are doing a stand-up stellar job. So once again, enjoy Talking into Infinity with JT and Brian.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 27 of Talking into Infinity, a Dream Theater podcast. I am your host, John. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, talkingintoinfinity.com, and the cmsnetwork.com. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to click the like button and hit that subscribe button so you get notified every time we go live, which is every other Thursday at this time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern at these four locations. If you want to catch video replays of the show, just go to our YouTube page or check out Heavy Metal Television. And if you'd like to download the audio version of the podcast, just Google Talking into Infinity Podcast. With me, as usual, is my incredible co-host, my COVID positive co-host, Brian. How's it going, you COVID positive bastard?
I'm not really COVID positive, John. Let's get that out there right away. I am live in the studio with Jordan, though, if you can see right there.
Jordan's very interested in what we have going on, apparently.
So this was posted, I believe, 1 or 2 days ago. They are back at DTHQ, which is really, really great news for you and I.
Yep.
Because as of now, fingers crossed, we are barely, 1 month away from our concert in Akron?
Yep, February 23rd, man. Yeah, I actually had a concert canceled yesterday. I was supposed to be in Chicago next Friday to go to the House of Blues to see the Young Guns tour with Dirty Honey and Wolfgang Van Halen, and it got postponed, pushed back a month. So there went my Chicago trip, and of course my first thought was, okay, like I really, really hope that this does not happen to the Dream Theater show. So as you said, fingers crossed.
Well, we're hoping because this, like we said, this is a rescheduled date. Now, your Wolfgang one, that was not a reschedule. That was an original date?
Yeah, it was the original date.
Okay. So we're hoping that, they're really not going to try to actually schedule this for a third time. But
well, you would think they would.
COVID, so who knows?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the one thing that's working in our favor is that, the guys had already disagreed internally about whether or not to go on tour in the first place. So since, the ones that wanted to tour already acquiesced one time, I highly doubt they're going to do it a second time. So I think we should be okay. So,
Speaking of live shows, we have a great episode lined up. We are going to talk about a live show that was released, and we actually saw the movie. Now, I want to reiterate something that we talked about before. Not really reiterate, but I want to clear some air on this. So,
okay.
We saw this actual concert in the movie theater, correct? When you and I worked together.
Yes, Solon Cinema, right down the street from where we were working.
Now, the reason that I confuse this with Breaking the Fourth Wall live was they released that not even barely a year later, and I'm remembering now that I was like, wait a minute, didn't they just have a live concert? Like literally back in 2013, and this, from what I can understand, the Breaking the Fourth Wall live was released in 2014. So we had back-to-back, we had back-to-back years of live albums, which is kind of really strange if you think about it.
I did not know that because I when I looked up live at Luna Park, it said 2013. Yeah, Breaking the Fourth Wall, September 29th, 2014.
So not even a year later. That's why this confused me, because I remember at the time, and I'm like, wait a minute, didn't we just go see this like not even a year ago?
Yeah, you're not kidding. Luna Park was November 5th of 2013, and then it was September of 14 for Breaking the Fourth Wall. Wow.
So yeah, I don't know what possessed them to do two of them like that, and maybe that's something we could dig into another episode and try to figure out. But I don't know. It's just very
Money.
strange. Yeah, exactly. I mean, but you don't see two live albums like that.
Yeah.
And I have seen the Breaking the Fourth live once. I believe I can't remember where I saw it, but I have seen it, but I don't remember really the set list and all. After rewatching this, so the whole inspiration behind watching this, just a little backstory, was I found out this was on actual Peacock, if you the streaming service. So we have, I don't know if you're
Okay.
like me, we've got like, your standards, your Netflix, your Hulu's. We have the cheaper Peacock, which doesn't have all the premium content. But I just happened to do a search on there because I had heard on another show, a different podcast, they were just discussing stuff in general, and they said, "Oh, the Dream Theater is on there." I said, "What?" So I went and looked it up, and I thought, "Hey, man, why not make an episode out of it?"
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one to discuss, man. It's definitely one of the more interesting releases that they've had. I personally went and I bought it on Amazon yesterday because I remember that this is, I think, the only one that they actually have available on Amazon Video. So I went and dropped the $20 and added it to my digital library, even though I've got the physical copy. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting concert to talk about. Full disclosure, I had not gone back and rewatched this in quite some time until you brought it up, and I watched it twice. Most recently last night, and actually this morning before work, I finished it, and it's definitely it was weird. Like, I enjoyed it more than I initially did, and I think when this first came out and we saw it in the theater, and when the whole thing was going on, it was I think I was still in that no Portnoy shock. It was weird seeing somebody else besides Mike Portnoy playing drums. So I know for me that was really kind of strange. And I vividly remember seeing it in the theater, unlike you, since you think it's a whole nother concert we saw. But but yeah, I just, like, my memories of that are just so vivid, and I put a lot of that in my notes. Things that I remember. And I mean, first of all, let's start from the very beginning. It was really cool that they actually showed this in a movie theater.
Yep.
I remembered one of the things I remember. Your first question was, "Are you sure?" You didn't believe me that they were playing a concert in the theater. I'm like, "No, seriously, they're playing Dream Theater. Like, they're actually doing that." So that in and of itself was a really interesting decision. Do you remember? I mean, I know you didn't remember that it was live at Luna Park, but what do you remember about the first time you saw this? Like, what were your impressions?
Well, I'm glad we got there early because it was me, you, and one of your friends that was meeting us there. And aside from that, there was a lot of empty seats. So
Yeah.
I think there was literally four of us, and we're like, how can they even make money on this? I mean, I think we loaded up on some popcorn, so that hopefully helped them a little bit.
Well, we loaded up on beverages down the street first too. So.
Oh, yeah, that's right. But yeah, no, I remember because I had to go back and obviously when I rewatched it. Now I remembered how heavy this was on the first Mangini album because, this is the first concert tour with Mangini, behind the kit, and I think that this is something we're probably never going to see again. And the reason I'm saying that is, and we won't go through we'll probably end up going through song by song, but right now, just off the bat, there's 7 songs from Dramatic Turn of Events, which is just unheard of for them to play that many from a new album. And, aside from, like, okay, obviously The Astonishing, that's something that when we saw it, they had to play the whole thing. They're not just, for that tour, they're not just going to play 2 songs off of that.
Yeah.
And they've done the 20-year, the reunions of scenes and images and words and stuff. But I just think going forward, a brand new album that comes out, you're not going to see literally almost 3/4 of the album performed live, which is very cool. And also, I think just a way of probably trying to make it the most comfortable as possible for Mangini, rather than, okay, hey, we need to make sure you can learn, 55 back catalog songs,
Yeah.
when you're coming out here on tour, I don't think that would be fair. Not that he couldn't do it, but I think the way they did it was great. And I do remember seeing and I told you many times my love for this album, and the fact that it was just so loaded with stuff from that album was great. So
Yep. Rock and Roll Podcast is checking it out. What's up, man? Good to see you. He says, I came by to say hello before my show. So have a good show, man. Hopefully it rocks. Hopefully you have fun with that. So if you guys have not checked it out, go look up the Rock and Roll Podcast, ROWE. Make sure you go check him out, man. It's a very, very good show. it was funny because I was thinking to myself as I was rewatching this, I mean, obviously the thing that stands out is how much of the new record they played, which to me really didn't surprise me because it's the only record that Mangini was on, so. And I started thinking, I was like, oh, was this when they started doing we're only going to have like one set list and we're going to rotate out one or two songs? And then I remembered, no, it's not, because, you've got bonus song, I think 6 or 7 bonus songs on the DVD alone. And then we just got, a few months ago, the Lost Not Forgotten archive release of a bunch of soundboard recordings of a whole bunch of other stuff like, To Live Forever and The Great Debate and The Count of Tuscany and all this kind of stuff. So they were still really playing a whole bunch of stuff. So I get what you're saying about they didn't want to dump on Mangini, but I think they kind of did, because, history shows us that they did a lot of stuff on that tour. So it's pretty interesting to me. One of the things that I noticed right off the bat, and I noticed this the first time I saw it, and then when I was rewatching it, it stood out to me again, was you said they have so many of the new songs. But if you notice, they staggered them. They would go like new song, fan favorite, new song, fan favorite. Like they weren't really pulling anything crazy out. I mean, you could probably say A Fortune in Lies was like the holy shit moment of the set. But even that is that's a really popular song for really old school fans. So they really busted out some stuff to make sure that, for people that were on the Mangini fence, the songs they did give them, they were like, oh yeah, I love that song. Oh my God, they're playing that. So it was a very interesting set list that they put together. All right. Well, dynamite drop in, Monty. All right.
I didn't know you were waiting for me there. Well, normally when we do these like album deep dives, I try to do like a, what was released that year.
Yeah.
But it's kind of hard with video. So I tried multiple times searching. The only thing I really came up with was that Def Leppard Viva Hysteria, which was live from Vegas, where they did the whole Hysteria album.
It's not too bad.
Yeah, I actually think it's killer, but I don't know how much of it's actually really live.
Well, that's why. Yeah.
But so that was like the only thing, other than something by obviously this One Direction. This Is Us, I think came out that's in here. So those are literally the only two, because like trying to search by like, rock DVDs released in 2013. It's like there's not a whole lot that came up under that search criteria, but.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, Killer's concert. Any show that opens with Bridges in the Sky, like, boom. I mean,
I was definitely surprised by that. I'd forgotten that they did not open with On the Backs of Angels, because when I saw them in Cleveland on that tour, they opened with On the Backs of Angels. It's like, okay. And going back and watching this, I think Bridges in the Sky definitely is like a better opener, I would think. Because when you get to, On the Backs of Angels later in this show, you're kind of like, oh yeah, I could see why they wouldn't want to open with that. So, yeah, definitely, I think it was a great opener as well. I mean, if you're going to pull something out from the new record, I was trying to think, can you remember a tour where they didn't open with the opening track from the record outside of this one? I couldn't think of one.
Not offhand, no. Honestly.
I mean, I went all the way back, and I mean every single one, and honestly, all of them since. So I mean, this is at least the only live release that that they did that doesn't open with the album's opening song.
I just think it's so atmospheric with that shaman doing the chants, and then I love those huge giant choirs, and those freaky keyboard things.
Yeah.
It sounds like angels playing their harps and all that. Like, I've talked before, there's a few songs that give me goosebumps when they started. This is one of them, man. It's just like the hair on the back of your neck stands up, and you're like, all right, we're ready for a big giant concert right now.
Yeah. I just loved it, the when it really starts kicking ass, It's just such a cool thing. And, the only thing that I would say, and this struck me kind of immediately when we were watching it in the theater, and it's never left me, is the fact that the venue has a really weird vibe. I had a really hard time getting into it when we were, when we were watching it in the theater, and then when I was rewatching it, I was like, this place is strange. It's not like a normal concert venue where you got the stage and the place goes back.
Mhm.
It's almost like if you turned a concert venue on its side and you put the stage here, it's like the place is wide instead of deep. And
Yeah, it's like flat.
yeah, it just was really strange. And that wasn't my first impression of it. Really my main complaint about this concert was that the room just doesn't seem to have a vibe to it.
Well,
And
the other
it just kind of takes away from it for me for a little bit. I mean, the band has nothing to do with it. It's just the actual venue itself.
I can kind of see that. It's also really not a very big stage, at least the way they filmed it, And I don't know if it's because they're so close up, but it looks like, it sort of seems like they're kind of in there kind of tight. I don't know. Maybe that's like an optical illusion. But
Yeah.
The other thing I noticed too is like, I don't have like an awesome probably surround sound setup like you do or whatever. And I'm playing it straight from the stream. Is like the drums are really the thing that comes through the most on my TV speakers is basically the keyboards and the guitar. Those are just ripping through there, and the drums it almost sounds like you guys probably have to do this sometimes when you play maybe a wedding or something. You have those shields up in front of the drummer. I don't know if you guys have ever had to play like that, but
Yes.
they got those plexiglass things. It almost sounds
shields.
like it almost sounds like that on the drums, but again, that's probably just because of the system I'm using.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you on that. The Amazon concert is really quiet for some reason. I just couldn't get it to get loud so I could really hear everything. But the mix of the live album really does kind of follow the mix of the actual record, Dramatic Turn of Events. It's very, you could tell it's very, Jordan and John heavy, because they were really the ones that were like, okay, here's the record, just play it. Like,
right.
So I think it kind of mirrors that in a way. But I mean, it sounds great. I mean, it's clear. I mean, I noticed that the bass has a great tone when you can hear it, so that's really cool. I like that. And I mean, honestly, I didn't notice it too much, because the one thing that stands out about this thing is that they recorded it in high def for the first time, and there's all these different camera angles, and it's just so clear, and it just looks fantastic. So I found myself kind of getting lost in the actual visual of it for a change, and I thought that part of it was really cool, man. And honestly, the very first time that I saw Mangini on that screen, I was like, holy shit. I couldn't believe it. It was, I mean, what was your first reaction to seeing him live, actually performing?
I feel like he's totally effortless, especially watching it a second time. Like it seems like his hands are like just barely above the drums, like he's just barely moving, and I know you want to like totally limit your range of motion probably as a drummer so as to not wear out and just, technique wise, but God, I mean, this guy just plays so freaking effortless. Whereas like I thought like Portnoy is just a big giant heavy hitting metal, got to make the metal faces, got to show I'm slamming it, and everything. But it's like,
yeah,
this dude just like, I mean, I don't know. At times you're like, is he really even hitting the drums? Like it seems such a light touch. I don't know.
Yeah. Tom Collins checking in. He says, "Hey guys, what's up, man? Good to see you. Thanks for checking it out. Checking out the show, I should say." Yeah, that's one thing I have in my notes, is that Mangini does seem at times to really not hit very hard. Like, I really wonder if some of his stuff really has to be amplified a lot, because it seems like he's barely touching them, Tom Cullen, he says Portnoy is a caveman. Not a bad thing. Yeah, he's definitely way more powerful. Way more powerful. So, I mean, I would agree with you on that one for sure.
Well, and I think the shows we've seen since, he's not to this degree, it looks like he's hitting harder than this, but I don't know, for something about this show, it just, just like, is this guy even like alive at times?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was just weird to me, because it always struck me as, how are they even getting the sound out of this damn drum, in a live venue with all the other stuff going on, like, but it works. And I mean, he looks great doing it. So, I mean, that's one thing. I mean, even in the first song, he's doing the over-under thing,
Yep.
which is really, really cool to see. So, he's got his own showmanship to him, which is fun. I mean, that's one of the things that Portman kind of brought to the table was he kind of was a showman as a drummer, which you really don't see a lot of. And Mangini's got that in him, which was really cool. He filled that void pretty well, I thought. But again, as great as it was, I will always remember that feeling of, God, this looks really weird. Like, did they have a fill-in guy? Like, it just took it. I think I enjoyed it much more on these rewatches now that I'm used to Mangini being the drummer. So I think that's
Well, yeah, I mean, this was
So-
the first time you'd ever seen it like that, so obviously it's going to be a guy who's
Yeah.
such a heart and soul of the band and does so much writing and is pretty much in charge of the set list. So I think for the most part,
Yep.
But yeah,
Here we go. Cale McLeish, his first comment of the year says, "Damn, I missed the first 20 minutes of the year. Happy New Year." Happy New Year, dude. So moving on to the next song in the set, I'm sure you were pissed off about this one, even whereas I was absolutely thrilled. So they go into 6 o'clock from, the Awake record, which, to what I was saying, they go from a new song to a fan favorite, which again, I think is a brilliant decision. For me, as soon as they went into it, I was like, yes. Dramatic Turn is not one of my more favorite records, so I enjoy it. But I was, knowing they were going to play a lot of it, I was really interested to see what else they'd put around it. And I think this was a great way to start it out, at least for someone like me who's kind of on the fence about Dramatic Turn. It's a great song. I love it. I think it makes a very cool choice as a second song of a set. And something about it, like I've seen shows where they've done it second, and it just works really well second in the order. I mean, where do you stand on that?
yeah, no, I was actually okay with this being in there. My most of my complaints about Awake are kind of as it gets further down in the tracking of the album. There's some stuff in there I can kind of take or leave, but yeah, dude, I'm totally fine with this song there. I think it fit absolutely perfectly. And I know that, especially upon a rewatching, you were probably like, "Oh yeah, I forgot this was in here. Amazing," because I know what a big fan you are.
Yeah.
You are of the song, and I think it's not a totally crazy song. It's still kind of keeping it a little bit mellow before it turns into what's coming next.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It just always works for me. Something about this song just works. And again, I think especially when you open with a new song, you're like, okay, how much of this new record am I going to get? To fall immediately into something familiar that you really love, I think for me was really, really cool. And hey, I mean, after they did that, then they really went to a fan favorite and really kind of smacked you in the mouth, because immediately following that one, they go into Dark Eternal Night. So again, I think another great choice in the set. Go a fan favorite, and this one's really heavy, and I think it was really good. It helps offset some of the lighter moments of the set list, because it's funny, and we'll get more into this when we do the deep dive into the record. But I don't think Dramatic Turn is very heavy. It's never come across to me as a heavy album. It's kind of mid-tempo, there's not a lot of heavy moments for me.
I see what you're saying. I don't totally disagree, but I think there are some heavy moments. But I can see where you're coming from and saying it's not super heavy for sure.
Yeah, so it just never struck me as that. I mean, and it could be the mix. For all I know, it could just be the mix. So maybe that's the case. It's just something in the mix that
Yeah.
Kale's saying he's hearing my mic getting wonky too. Alrighty.
Yes, it's
Well,
like
that sucks.
the Chipmunks Christmas album song or something.
Well, why don't you
Hopefully,
solo for a minute, and I'll drop out and come back in. Drop out and come back in. Let me come back to the show. So you're on your own, man. You're soloing about Live at Luna Park.
Yeah, live at Luna Park. John's trying to fix his microphone. Let's go into song 3. Speaking of heavy, for sure, Dark Eternal Night. I mean, does it get any heavier than this tune when it comes to Dream Theater? I don't think it does, to be honest. You know, what's cool about it also is they got those, like, it's a bunch of 1950s, like, monster movies and horror movies. You got some scenes of the shooting the Wolfman, and there's Godzilla versus Mothra in there, and and you got those heavy chunking riffs going behind. You're seeing like this, there's just this cool old school sci-fi movies going on. Now there is one scene I noticed in there watching again yesterday. King Kong is fighting what appears to be the abominable snowman or a white King Kong, like a ghost white albino King Kong. I have no idea what movie this is from, but I'm dying to see this because it's like it's the most ridiculous looking creature I've ever seen in a movie before. So if you're watching live at Luna Park, go back and probably 4 to 5 minutes into Dark Eternal Night, check out some of these clips they're interjecting, and one of them is, I'm pretty sure all I can describe it as is an albino King Kong. But the other cool thing about Dark Eternal Night, we get Jordan going out into the audience with that killer guitar. And what I love about Jordan is it's not like those totally cheesy, dorky looking, guitars from the 80s. And but it's like it almost looks like a scythe or something. It looks like some sort of medieval weapon, It's like a medieval weapon he's using, and he's just going nuts, and something about playing keyboard solos over top of those just giant, super chunky, heavy riffs that make up, probably 2/3 of Dark Eternal Night, and the crowd just goes nuts when he goes out there and does that. And I love that because, before him, like I said, before him, the guitar of the 80s was usually pretty cheesy and pretty hokey and looked pretty stupid. But I don't know, this guy makes it look cool. He gets the audience totally jacked up and involved in it. And, the more he can use it, the better. But that's what stands out the most when you're talking about Dark Eternal Night. And that's the 3rd song from Live at Luna. We're still waiting for John to come back. Hopefully he's fixed his audio issues here soon. I don't know if he wants me to just keep going on to song number 4. Song number 4, we go into This Is the Life. And probably, this is what John's talking about when he's like, this is not a heavy album, dramatic turn of events. So This Is the Life is a super mellow, introspective, very Pink Floyd-ish type of a song for me. But it's also lyrically, spiritually, it's very deep. I love his Labrie's vocals on this, absolutely amazing. And the performance he gives at live at Luna Park is awesome, off the charts as well. Hopefully John will be back soon. But yeah, so we're only 4 songs into the concert, and we've already got 2 off of Dramatic Turn of Events, which is awesome. If I had it my way, this would be the next album they do, a 20-year anniversary of. We still got, I guess, a couple years for that, but I would love to see Dramatic Turn of Events front to back. Anybody else in the comments with me on that, or no? Am I the only one that thinks that? I don't know if the comments are still coming through. I'm seeing nothing. Let's see here. Are you still there, John? Are you back?
I am back.
Okay.
I am back. So where we at, man? Where we at?
I was just talking about we're 4 songs in, and we can go back and talk about Dark Eternal Night if you want, but we're 4 songs in, and we've already got 2 off of Dramatic Turn of Events. And I would love, it sounded kind of like after the Last Images and Words deal that they're not going to do this anniversary album. Let's play the whole damn thing again anytime soon on these. But I would love Dramatic Turn of Events. I think it would be very cool to do that. I'm obviously in the minority, but Tom Cullen said he would love that too. So I mean, me and him will be the only 2 people at that concert, I guess, if they decide to do that.
Well, I'll go see any Dream Theater concert, so that's not a that's not a problem for me. But I mean, do you think this album is popular enough to do that with?
No, I don't think so whatsoever. But but I would be all for it.
Be a self-serving show.
Yeah, it definitely totally self-serving. But yeah.
Yeah,
So go ahead.
No, sorry, I was going to say I just don't. Two things. I mean, number one, they said they're not doing that anymore, and number two, again, I just don't. If they're going to do one of the records, I don't think this would be it. I don't think you could do it with any of the Mangini records. I don't think they have the popularity yet of the Portnoy stuff, and for that reason, I just don't think it's possible. But I mean, you never know. I mean, hopefully they're around for another like 20-something years or something. So we'll see.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's move on here.
Just want to go on to
it's
track
back.
5.
My damn. So my mic is messing up again, huh?
Well, it's okay now. So
Okay.
I don't know. This is going to be a rough show if we have to do that the whole time.
Apparently so. Apparently so. So we'll just power through it. We don't have to release the audio version, but
All right.
So I'll have to go back and listen. But yeah. So moving on to track. Did you say you're through song 4, or are we on to song 5?
We're through 4, so you can go ahead and introduce 5.
Okay. One thing I did want to point out about track 4, real quick, is that was I the only one that was kind of like, I really noticed John Petrucci's shirt during This Is the Life, that super low V neckline that's like all bedazzled and stuff. And then he's got like his hair flowing in the breeze half the time, like a supermodel. I was like, whoa, what the heck?
No.
So that was kind of weird.
I do have in my notes though that we had like the 4th shot of a female singing along during the course of this. So that's like 4 more than you're going to see at most Dream Theater concerts. And we're only 4 songs in, and they've shown 4 different females in the audience. So that's fairly impressive.
And we haven't got to the famous one yet either.
Exactly.
But, so yeah, track 5, The Root of All Evil. I personally would have preferred These Walls. That's one of the bonus tracks on the DVD. So I would have preferred These Walls. That would have been one that I would have rather have heard rather than, Root of All Evil. But I know you're a big fan of Root of All Evil, so I'm sure you were digging this one.
Oh, yes. I about jumped out of my seat when they played this. That much I do remember of the show. So, yeah, awesome tune. I want to hear this probably at every concert they ever play, and never gets old. I don't know. It's just something about the way it grooves and grinds, and then, you can get the whole damn crowd chanting together. It's like, I don't know. It's just it's like a metal anthem, and they don't really have too many of what I would call like these metal anthems, and this is hardcore for sure. One of them.
Yeah. I think with this version of the song too, it's like it's really heavy. It's the heaviest version I've heard. I mean, James gets more grit into his voice, and and also the ending to it is awesome. They do that extended ending, and it's even just that like minute and a half, whatever they do, it's way more musical than any band would do in like 5-10 minutes. So I mean, this is definitely, as much as I would have preferred These Walls, this is the best version of this song I've ever heard. So I'm completely happy with it. And, I actually rewatched this one a couple times. I'm like, damn, this is a really good version of the song.
What's Kyle's comment, Mead? I'm confused.
Kyle?
Or Kale, sorry.
You mean Kale?
Yeah, him.
All right. So he said, the problem is that's not the trade. I think this one swapped with Build Me Up, Break Me Down. These Walls was trading with 6 o'clock, and I'd way prefer to have that. Yeah, I'd rather have 6 o'clock than These Walls as well. But I would also rather have Root of All Evil than Build Me Up, Break Me Down. So I guess I win either way. I guess I win.
Should we
either
go
way.
ahead and reveal the second disc songs now, or should we wait until the end since they're already coming up now?
No, you can bring them up.
Okay. So we have These Walls, obviously Build Me Up, Break Me Down, Caught in a Web, Wait for Sleep, Far from Heaven, Pull Me Under. Now,
Yeah.
personally, there's only 2 on there that I which were in the set. See if you can guess which two. Probably easy.
Go through the list again.
All right, so we have These Walls, Build
Okay.
Me Up, Break Me Down,
That's one.
Caught in a Web,
Okay.
Wait for Sleep, Far from Heaven, and Pull Me Under.
Wait for Sleep.
Yeah. So I would love for that to have been in there. But the rest of them, I'm like, as much as I've campaigned that the people that want to poo-poo on Pull Me Under, I'm okay with the way that they ultimately ended this show, at least the one that we watched. So
look at Kale. He got it completely wrong. He guessed These Walls and Caught in a Web. Kale, don't forget, he's not the biggest Awake fan. Yeah. So as soon as you see something from Awake, you know that one's down the list. So
well, and also Far from Heaven, to me, that's kind of almost like the only sort of I don't even say call it a clunker, but I don't need that from Dramatic Turn.
No, and I don't want to give stuff away, but it's a good song. But I think the slow ballad songs on a Dramatic Turn kind of blend together. They definitely sound similar to me, so I'm like, it's not really. I mean, you could really kind of, do either one because it's almost the same song to me. They're very similar. But so after Root of All Evil, we get back to your Dramatic Turn songs here with Lost Not Forgotten. One of the things that was really cool about this is in the intro for the song, again, going with what I said earlier about the camera angles, those crazy guitar sweeps that I never even really noticed previously because I was just kind of into the vibe of the whole song. Man, the camera gets some great shots, so you can really see Petrucci doing these crazy like sweeps and there's some crazy stuff in there, and you really get a good shot of that. So,
yeah, the thing I love about running these two songs together is I love the ending of Root of All Evil with that piano, that down, 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 that's like ascending and descending and going with the guitar, and then. Lost Not Forgotten. This might be the last time that I even get to see this song live ever. I don't see them pulling this out. I mean, it would be awesome if they did, but to me, this is the massively huge, like giant cinematic symphonic masterpiece, especially the beginning with the awesome piano stuff that Jordan plays. I mean, this is like one of those, like, in Stargate when the pyramid explodes, or when they're going in there and the aliens come out, or like if you're like a Clive Cussler fan like me, like some of his novels, like this just reminds me of like it's like a big giant adventure almost, and then when you start the song, you get the super chunky, heavy riffing, and I love this song, and like you're saying, I noticed too at the beginning, there's a point where they're actually zooming in on everyone's hands. And like as insane as Petrucci and Rudis are, the one that blew me away was like My Young. I'm like, okay, did somebody speed this up? Because human hands are not supposed to be able to play a bass and make the notes sound that full and come out of it. And it's just like it's ridiculous. And it kind of took me back to when I wasn't on the podcast, but you were talking about and you had Monty on, and he was really relaying the story about seeing My Young practicing during the day, and he was like, what are you doing? And it's like, he's like, dude, I don't have a choice with this kind of music. I have to practice. And like just watching something like that, you realize that, like, if that dude probably didn't practice the way he did, I don't see how he could possibly play that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that phenomenal. I don't know. It's not even like a 8-second little clip they show of him or something, or 10 seconds, but it's just kind of mind blowing.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing I took away from My Young, it may be stupid, but I'm like, how the hell does this guy's low string stay in tune? Like whenever they show close-ups, it's like he's anchoring off it. The thing is just bent like a rubber band. It's like, how is that thing staying in tune, man? But this one, I think this is one of those songs that, I do think that the production on the live record is a little fatter than the album itself. And I think that this is, this is one of the songs that really benefits from that. I kind of got into it more in the live setting than I did on the record. Yep. And I think that's definitely due to the production, on this particular song. So Kale McLeish says, this is one of the few songs that Petrucci has to ridiculously rehearse every time they play it. The intro is hard. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me, man. That does not surprise me at all because that, like I say, those sweeps I was watching, I'm like, holy crap! Like, what the hell is that? So, I mean, that was just insanity. Speaking of insanity, the drum solo is up next. Do you remember our reaction to this when we saw this in the theater?
No, I'll be honest. But I have a question. What are your thoughts on drum solos in general? Good, bad?
Uh, I don't have a problem with them as long as they're not like totally overblown. I think this one was pretty tasteful. This one I think was almost kind of necessary because I think it's kind of one of those things where when you get rid of a guy like Portnoy, you have to show the crowd, okay, we're in good hands. Trust us. This guy absolutely slays. Like it's almost kind of like a reassuring, hey, everything's going to be okay type of thing. So this did not surprise me that they brought the drum solo back when they got Mangini into the band. You know, they continued it on the next tour with Enigma Machine. You know, he did a solo in the middle of there when there's that one drum fill. But in general, I'm like, okay. I mean, if it only goes on a few minutes, that's fine. But if it gets really, really lengthy, I'm like, okay, enough is enough here.
Now, see, I'm of the mindset that drum solo should be 2 minutes or 20. Anything else in between is totally wrong.
You would actually sit through a 20-minute drum solo?
No, I wouldn't. So this solo is actually a little over 6 minutes. And the thing I love about the drum solos is there's, especially like when you've got as many drums as like Mangini or Portnoy or somebody like that, is there's that point during the solo where they got to stand up and they go, oh, I didn't even know I had those drums there because they're only there for my solo.
Thank you. I was going to bring that up. I was like, man, are some of these drums pointless or is it just me? Like, he's got that really big kettle drum like up in the air. He's like, gug. I'm like, when is he ever hitting that thing?
Right. It's like the gong, you know. I don't even know if he had a gong, but there's always like, oh, I got to hit the gong. And it's like, what the hell?
It's the Alex Van Halen gong that he only had to hit once during the show and then to light on fire at the end.
Right.
You know, that's
you know, it's something else. Like, don't air drum to the drum solo. You know, it's bad enough like at a Rush concert when someone's would air drum to Neil Peart the whole time. When he's doing the solo, I don't need to watch you screwing the parts up in the air. You know what I mean? Like, do not air drum during a solo. And one final thought on drum solos. If you start out without a shirt on during your actual playing, should you put one back on during the solo? And if you have one on to start, should you take it off during the solo? What are your thoughts on shirt on or shirt off during the drum solo?
I'm generally not a fan of the disrobed rock star, with very few exceptions. So I would say just keep your damn clothes on. Just keep your clothes on. I don't, you know, I get it. Like for some people, like that's their look. Like Slash did it, he was cool. Right. Eddie Van Halen did it was cool. But you know, sometimes it's just, you know, especially drummers don't tend to be the guys that are like in crazy shape. So you get like these flabby dad bods like a lot of the time. So it's like
you don't want to see Ricky Rocket up there shirtless for a 12-minute solo.
Oh my God, with his xylophone ribs sticking out. Like, yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. So I guess in a nutshell, I would say, it's a drum solos for me, but I mean, I'm fine with it. I do have to say the 20-minute drum solo. No. No 20-minute drum solos. That's like, and I'm going to blaspheme heavy right here. That's like having to sit through Jimmy Page's solo on The Song Remains the Same. That is the most boring, needlessly lengthy guitar solo ever done.
Okay, now you are blaspheming.
Dude,
that's worse than Cale saying the drummer should wear a singlet. No, Cale, nobody should ever wear a singlet.
He did. Cale McLeish, he should wear a singlet.
No.
He said it's a courtesy to your audience. No, he follows it up. He's got logic behind this. It's a courtesy to your audience while also being a bit more breathable on stage.
No. Yeah. You know, the only time you wear a singlet is if you're going into a time machine and you want to be a wrestler from 1979. That's the only time ever you're allowed to put one of those on.
All right. So okay, real quick, and then we have to move on. But this is off topic. You actually like the Jimmy Page guitar solo from The Song Remains the Same?
I love that whole movie in general. So, but I can see why you'd think it's. I mean, that movie is designed for people to like basically trip out on weed or acid and just that's what that's designed for.
That's probably why
That's
I'm not.
yeah,
Probably
that's
why
a
I'm not into it.
totally almost hallucinatory experience. And I mean, I don't indulge in that stuff either. But yeah, I don't know, man. You're kind of messing with sacred ground there when you're talking about changing around something and song remains the same.
Ugh, dude, not that. I have to go back and rewatch that because I tried a few times when I was younger. I like Zeppelin, but it just bored me. I'm like,
Well, the movie stuff is really doesn't age well at all. Like the fighting the knights on horses and all that. Like that stuff looks, especially now. I mean, it looked pretty bad 10, 20 years ago. And now you look at it and you're just like, you're almost laughing at how hokey it looks. But the
well,
actual concert itself is still amazing.
I think for me the problem is, and then this might be my last comment. We'll get back to what we were talking about. I think my problem is that some of the songs they extend them for absolutely no reason. Like it's not like when Dream Theater extends something, you've got all this crazy virtuosic stuff going on. It's just kind of droning on. I'm like, well, get back to the point, please. Like you're not doing anything, and it's not for me. So,
Yeah.
all right. So the drum solo, it's funny. Like I said in my notes, are some of those drums just kind of pointless? And the one-handed stuff that he does, and the fact that he can literally do something different with all four limbs simultaneously, like each one of the four limbs is doing something different. It's just crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. I mean, like I asked you at the outset of this, like my reaction to it was, what in God's name is this guy doing? Like it was like watching an alien. I was like, what the hell? So, of course, after the drum solo comes another great set list moment for me, where we go to A Fortune in Lies, which I thought was a great decision. Peppering the new stuff with some really classic, hardcore Dream Theater fan favorites. This being one of them. It sounds great with the production on this live record, and dude, man, again going back to Mangini in the middle there, with that staccato snare part, following the guitar, like the unison with the guitar, and he's doing it with one hand. I was just like, are you kidding me? But then he's giving those cool, like cocky rock star looks to Petrucci while he's doing it. Like it's great, man. Like I said, I know you're not the biggest fan of this song, but this to me was a great addition to the show.
No, I'll piggyback on a point you made. This song, way better live. I mean, the production we've gone over on Dream and Day Unite. It's dated and whatever, but you hear this song,
sure,
played in essentially 2011 or whatever, 2012, I guess was, even though it was 2013 was the release. But you hear it with that type of production, and you get to hear James, singing it. I think it sounds great. I'm totally fine with them playing it, and I know I think it fits well there, because it comes, you're like, it's sort of like we go new to old. Like we featured the new guy, and then we're going to go back to like, hey, this was kind of the first, big song anyone ever really heard from us,
Yeah.
off of Dream and Day Unite. And I thought it was kind of a cool juxtaposition. So I'm totally fine with it.
Yep, that's a good word to use. I thought the same thing. It was, to back up, here's the new drummer, the most recent thing we have. Well, here's the oldest thing we have. Like I thought that was kind of cool as well. Following that up, we have the miniature acoustic suite, and obviously starts out with the Silent Man. Where do you stand on this one, considering that you're not a fan of Awake? I love it, and I think it sounds great with the strings behind it. I thought it sounded great. The one thing I did not like is this is one of many cheesy stage reps by James. I kind of feel like in this show he kind of, the reins were off. He could say whatever he wanted, and he just got real zen. This is the way the song was intended, and this is the way it's going to stay. This is the Silent Man. Like, okay, we've got some local musicians behind us that you can be proud of. Stuff like that. I was
Right.
like, okay. But yeah, I mean, and the one thing I noticed about this, like for such a stripped down song, even with adding some strings to it, it sounds huge in this environment. Something about it just sounds intimate yet huge at the same time.
Yeah, this is a cool, and this is one they pan to the crowd, and I think there's another shot of a chick singing again to this one. So that's 5 chicks we now have. But
I'm looking at camera angles and you're counting women
yeah.
in the crowd
2,
shots.
3, 4, 5. Yeah, but no, it's really cool. I mean, this song, I love the backing vocals on this and the harmonies. They're just so basic and simple, and that's always one of those dangerous words, like, oh, this is basic and simple, but it still sounds amazing. I mean, it translates better live. When this is kind of on the album, it's just sort of like, this just seems like a thin sounding, I don't want to say hokey, but folksy kind of sounding thing that doesn't really, to me, has never really fit on Awake, and we probably argued about that before. But I love this part of it here. After you kind of got the metalness of Fortune and Lies, and everyone lets just sit back and chill out, and kind of get it's like a campfire sing along song. It's just a basic, just makes you kind of feel good inside, and everyone's on the same page when this song comes on. Like, oh man, we're gonna all sing along Silent Man, and that's fun. That's why people go to concerts, for this kind of a bond.
Yep. No, I completely agree with that. That's a good take, man. Kale says, I love the acoustic version, but I kind of hate the speech before it, which sounds almost like a dig at Portnoy. This is the way it's going to stay. Like, up yours, Portnoy. The original version is better than any of the epic changes you could ever come up with. Yeah, it's that is one thing I wondered about, like, rewatching this, like, knowing the history behind, the Portnoy change better now than we did then, and obviously there's some bad blood between Portnoy and Labrie. And I wondered if it would be something where you kind of watch this show and see a band that kind of like feels refreshed. You kind of see like the reins are off of them. Are they going to look re-energized? And I didn't see that. I mean, they just looked like Dream Theater, just with a different drummer, which to me, I like that. Because then it's like, okay, status quo, like my favorite band isn't changing. But again, I do think, some of the stage raps, I think maybe, it kind of seems like maybe, Portnoy had mentioned a few times to James, like, kind of keep it to the point, kind of short. Because he said some longer stuff at this show, and this was the first time he really did that, was in this one. But, it is what it is. I have one note for the next song, which is Beneath the Surface. And do you want to know what my note is? Or can you guess what my note is?
No.
Skip. Yeah.
Boo.
Yeah. So Daniel Wilson is disagreeing. The version on live scenes from New York of the version on live scenes from New York City of Silent Man was way better. I am going to disagree with you on that. If you want to say that it's better, I will give you that. That is a personal preference. I like them both. I cannot go along with way better, though. I think that, again, adding the strings, it sounds great. Luna Park's a bigger venue, so it gives this kind of majesty to the song. So, personal preference, tomato. But, yeah, and, disagreements happen, kind of like how Brian's about to disagree with me regarding my feelings on Beneath the Surface.
Yeah, you didn't think I was going to let that slide, did you?
No.
No, I love hearing this with the string quartets, because the awesome part about this song is the strings are really, like, you can feel them completely driving this song. And that's what I think is sort of probably missed a little bit on the record. But literally the strings are just sort of dun 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 dun, dun, like they're completely driving it.
Yeah.
The acoustic guitar sounds great on top of it. James' voice has always sounded killer on this song to me. Still killer live. I don't know. There's just something about this. This to me is like probably my favorite ballad of theirs. It's just so melodic, and you get that that Jordan Moog solo, the Moog solo in it, and I love this performance with the actual real strings there. I think it sounds beautiful.
Okay. I just was never a fan of it, and I think it's twofold. One is from this show. I mean, following up the Silent Man, which might be my favorite ballad of theirs. After that, anything's pretty much downhill for me. And the second thing being, we talked about this, that I just think, Beneath the Surface as an album closer, putting it after Breaking All Illusions is almost criminal. Breaking All Illusions, that closes the record. Like, what are you doing putting this other thing on there? Like,
yeah.
Wait, I'm like, oh God, what a great closer. Hey, why is there water dripping? Hey, what the hell is that? Why is it? No, the album's over. Damn you.
Yeah, no,
But
I've agreed with you on that point. It does.
yeah,
It sort of seems silly at that point.
I will say though, I will completely agree with you that this is an awesome version of the songs. The strings definitely make up for, you know, some of the parts I'm not really into. It's a little simplistic for me, I think, in parts, but I think adding the strings to it really kind of brings out, some really really unique energy to it. I think it makes it a little more. Yeah, I guess to me it just feels energetic. It's a simplistic term, but like that's kind of how I look at it. So after Beneath the Surface, we go into another dramatic turn song. We go into Outcry, which is there's an awesome version on the special features disc for this one because it's got all those different angles. Like they've got like the GoPros on the head stocks of the guitar, so you're like looking right down the. I wish they would have done that for the whole show because I thought that was a really cool effect. I've always liked when bands do that, but yeah, this is another one of those songs that for me it works better in a live environment than it does on the record, and I think really listening to this song, it kind of like really drove home the point for me that I brought up earlier, and that there isn't a lot of speed or variance in tempo on this album. They sound great live, but I still have a hard time kind of differentiating these songs a little bit. A few songs kind of blend together for me on this record. And I think, having seen a few of them now, watching this concert in a row, I got to Outcry and I was like, yeah, I kind of feel like I heard this one already. So that would really be my only complaint.
It's a similar feel to Lost But Not Forgotten, which I guess is probably why I like it. It's a big giant. It's another big giant, massive. It's one of those that's kind of got some Maiden influences. You get that, those sort of Egyptian sounding riffs going on, the heaviness of it. But I think this is Jordan's standout song on this album. Like he's got a multitude of sounds, different sounds throughout the whole song. He's got a multitude of very unique parts he plays, and every note and every sound just fits absolutely perfect. And this is one of those songs that's really sort of grown on me off of this album. I was always a fan of this album, but the more I hear Outcry, the more I love this song. And this will be the second one off of this album that's on here that I don't think we'll ever get to hear this live again. This and Lost But Not Forgotten, I think would be for sure, of all the songs that were played up to this point, that we got to hear, I don't think we'll ever hear those again live. I mean, I could be wrong, but I just don't see it happening.
I think this one really the only one that you could see consistently played live would be Breaking All Illusions. That would be the one that I think you could see constantly. The rest I don't really see a lot of replay value. And I could be wrong. I fully admit that. I like this record. It's not, near the top of my list, but I think I'm definitely in a minority. I think a lot of people love this album. So it could be one of those ones that I just didn't get like everybody else got. So
well, now I wonder too if because this was Mangini's first album, they already sort of did most of it for all intents and purposes, during those first couple of years he was in the band. Is it like, all right, well, why do we need to go back to very much of that in general? You know what I mean? Especially when we got this other massive catalog.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. So as a keyboard player, I'm sure you were very excited for this next piece. Jordan doing that extended piano solo going into Surrounded. I thought it was cool that it was just clean piano because we don't usually get to see him just soloing on strictly piano. It's always got other elements to it like the distortion and the continuum and all those little iPads and stuff like that. Like I thought it was really cool to hear him just kind of play some classical piano for a bit.
Yeah, much like you did previously. I have one word for this: neat. No, it was
yours
awesome,
is a little
man.
more positive than mine was.
Yeah. No, I mean, what can you say? Like, he's such a romantic, Baroque, classically influenced player, and it comes out in his playing, and it's like, there's elements of Bach, there's elements of Chopin in there, there's elements of Liszt. I mean, he can mix. This is what Dream Theater does all the time too, and this is what you and I talk about. And we love. He can mix the dark and the light tones and the themes together to where you're like, oh, this this is really dark. No, wait a minute, it's happy. No, it's dark again. Like I can't tell. It's like literally sometimes it'll give you like multiple emotions at the same time, and you're like, man, this is like, it's like I'm so happy I'm crying almost. Like it's sometimes it's almost that effect when you're so overjoyed about something, but then you're almost sort of sad about it at the same time because you realize you're experiencing something that'll literally never happen again. It's like, I don't know. That's the only emotion I can portray to when you hear this guy play. And I've only seen one other guy play this way, and this isn't a joke. It's a video of Jonathan Cain from Journey, and he's like he's kind of went off the deep end. Like he joined this church in Florida, and it's like kind of a real sort of far right thing, but he's sort of up there, and he's like, it's almost one of those things where I don't know, maybe you've seen this where it's like stuff is channeling through his body and God's channeling through, and he's playing like 4 minutes of just like the most ridiculous, just like cool, stuff that puts you through all these emotions. And that's how I felt watching this Jordan solo. And it's perfect. It's three, I think just over 3 minutes long. And then kind of like you said at the end, I can't remember if it's kind of in the middle before they go into Surrounded. James does his little spiel about, there's few guys that whatever. And it sounds
he completely improvs this. And
yeah, I don't know. Just the way James says it's kind of hokey. Jordan's like, what are you talking about? But then, yeah, it's like, dude, it's like we go right into Surrounded, and it's like, okay, where are you, Kevin Moore? Can you please maybe come back for an album or something, like like you just realize how much you appreciate Kevin Moore when you hear a song like Surrounded. You're like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah. I think on this one, I think this, I'll have to go back and kind of review it a little more, but as I was watching it, I think this might be James's best recorded version of Surrounded. I love the way he sang this one. I mean, I really think that, the Dramatic Turn tour was really, it might have been, his peak as a vocalist live, outside of, but the Awake tour before he had that injury. I really think that he sounded phenomenal on this show. If you listen to the Lost Not Forgotten stuff, like his voice, he sounds great. And I think, like I said about the Root of All Evil, he sounds phenomenal. He sounds phenomenal on this version of the song. So I was a fan of this. I've heard the song a million times, but it never sucks to hear something off of Images and Words again. So, all right, now we get back into Dramatic Turn on the Backs of Angels. And as I said right at the outset, I can see why they did not use this as a show opener.
Yeah, this song, I think I've said it before. The first time I heard this, I was kind of like, but the more I heard it, and knowing it was the first new stuff, with Mangini, I was like, okay, these guys really are back. I think they're I don't want to say refreshed, but they're back to the Dream Theater that I love. And you're the one that tipped me off to there's the video or the conspiracy, whatever you want to call it, where, oh, well, these are Images and Words, all the same songs with like the charts, the chord changes flipped around and the changes are there, but they're backwards, and they did this instead of this. And I can totally see why that guy did that. I think he's insane, but the feel of this song really reminds me of Images and Words big time. And that's not a bad thing, man. That's not a bad thing at all.
Yeah. I like this song. I just, it's something it's hard to explain. Like, I enjoy it a lot, but I think every time I hear it, I get a little bit annoyed with the, in the choruses, they'll be like, tears fall from the righteous. And then when it goes before the next line, I'm like, oh, go. Just sing a chorus. Like, you don't have to do the noodling in the middle of the chorus lines. Like, that was always weird to me. But again, I've said it before. I have a different appreciation for the record because of the production on this album, the live record. And I think this is another one that shows that. So, and we've talked about this before. I will never, ever stop wondering how in the hell Jordan plays an iPad on stage and the damn thing never freezes. It just seems like at some point it would just quit on him. It's like, like all of our stuff freezes on us sometimes. My mic sounds like shit tonight, but it's
Well,
not
especially
Jordan.
especially 8 years ago when the technology probably wasn't all that super great. That's probably one of the original iPads he's busting out there at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, no joke, man. So, all right, so now we get again. It seems to go like, okay, here's something for Brian, here's something for John, here's something for Brian, here's something for John. Because now we get into two of my all-time favorite songs, especially from this record, "War Inside My Head" and "The Test That Stumped Them All." Dude, anytime you give me some 6 Degrees, I'm a fan. And "The Test That Stumped Them All" has my favorite John Petrucci solo of all time. We'll have to redo the Guitar Moments episode since my mic screwed up and my whole computer screwed up, power outage. But that is my top John Petrucci solo. And I think this was the first time I really wondered, are they using backing tracks for the vocals? Because, the part, "War Inside My Head," when he was doing it, I was like, well, he's kind of far off the mic, and that sounds like James singing. So I think this was the first time I kind of wondered if they were doing that.
Yeah, I didn't notice that part, but when this came up, having watched this now and my new appreciation for 6 Degrees, man, I was jamming along, man. When the the brass horn parts that
Yep.
Jordan's playing on there, that marching kind of thing, just getting you pumped for this ridiculous, 4 million notes an hour that are going to be coming when you get to Test That Stumped Them All later. Like, awesome. I think awesome placement for, like, I think it works perfectly right there, and I love that they played both of them, and very cool.
Yeah, it's again, I put this is one of those examples of they go from a new song to something that's like kind of like a fan favorite, and they did such a great job in writing the set list in that respect, and it you know it just works. To your point, it works perfectly right there. And I think another thing that works, at least from a visual standpoint, going back to some camera work, there's a lot of cuts during the Test That Stumped Them All, and it kind of looks busier, which kind of like fits the vibe of that song. So I thought that was cool how they kind of like matched the frenetic energy of that song to the way that the camera was moving around. So that was pretty cool. All right, so just a few songs left, and we have an insane guitar solo by John Petrucci. So you asked me, what do I think of drum solos? What do you think of guitar solos?
I'm 99% of the time I'm against them, but I love this one because it's not just him out there just flailing away on a guitar. He's got Jordan backing him the entire time with super cool, kind of eerie but ethereal chords going on behind him. It has that thing that he's talked about, like, I picture myself as, like, flying on the back of an eagle with my hair flying, and he's admitted that he wants his guitars playing to sound like that, and that's what it sounds like on this.
Yep.
He does a lot of stuff with those volume swells. It's kind of Tuscany solo type deal. Every time he would kind of go into one of those, you're like, is that song going to come next? I hope it comes next. I hope, it never really did, obviously, at least during this concert. But yeah, it's fine. I think I clocked it at 7.5 minutes, but Jordan's behind him on, I think, maybe the first half minute or something. I don't even know if Petrucci's playing too much, but yeah, I think it fits absolutely perfect. I mean, everything's tasteful. It's not like I've seen like Motley Crue with like Mick Mars, solo for 4 minutes. It's just like, no, we don't need to be seeing that.
Yeah.
I think it was absolutely perfect. I loved it.
Yeah. Tom Cullen says, in a band like Dream Theater, every song is a massive solo, not needed. So good point there. I love it. I agree with everything that you said. He just seems to have this knack. Like you said, 7.5 minutes. I would not have known that. He's got this knack of just the way that he could build one of these improv solos from something so mellow to just, like the shred picking, and he can fix shred picking into something, like what Jordan's playing, just those mellow, breathy notes, and it fits. The getting aggressive in a certain part. He always knows where to put that, and I think this is a perfect example of that. It's a great example, yet again, of how Jordan and John play off each other so well, and I like this one for the specific reason that he does that like that rhythm thing at the end, like did and did and did. You know, he's actually playing like rhythm chords, those big like they're just so lush, and man, I love that. And then unfortunately,
it's like a whole extra song, you know. I mean, it's not. It doesn't sound like a solo when Jordan's playing along and he's playing stuff that's so melodic. It just feels like an extra song, you know.
Yeah. And I by the way, speaking of, I wanted to throw this in there because this is just stupid, but I'm definitely buying that guitar plug-in that John Petrucci's hawking right now, because I saw some demos of it on YouTube and it's amazing. So I'm actually getting some recording software when I get my bonus in a couple months, and I'm finding out whatever program is compatible with this plugin, and I'm not doing that. So I've got John Petrucci's plugin, but
nice.
So we are going into The Spirit Carries On, and unfortunately we have, before we get to that, another cheesy James stage rap. Yeah.
The things this man can do on guitar.
Yeah, he's like, takes you through the emotional spectrum and all this kind of stuff. It's pretty descriptive what he says, and then he talks about, the lyrics to Spirit Carries On, and it's just weird. I've never heard him do it. I don't know if it's like that. I don't know if it's considered cheesy because like what he's saying is the fact you never hear him talk that much, and you're like, what the hell? Like so, but he's very expressive.
I mean, it's cool to acknowledge your bandmates. I just think when you get to a song like this, like, dude, because he kind of gets a string there where it feels like he announces like almost 4 songs in a row or whatever. Like you don't need to announce Spirit Carries On. Once it kicks in, we know what's, you know what I mean? We know what this is. Like, I don't know, just sort of sometimes let it speak for itself. But he's caught up in the moment, and he's probably he realizes it's live, and I don't know, maybe he thinks he's contributing. I don't think he's taking away from it, but it's just kind of like, a song like Spirit Carries On, once you start it, you don't need to.
Yeah.
You don't need to go, hey, Spirit Carries On is coming.
Well, as soon as Jordan hit that first note before the guitar solo, that when he holds it out, you could just tell.
Yeah.
It's like Trial of Tears, like when you hear bam, 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 you're like, and just the keyboard sound is like, okay. Kill McLeish. He beat us to it. Bruce Dickinson has Scream for Me. Does James have Cry for Me here? Yes, this is the infamous appearance of the Crying Girl. So this is where the Crying Girl comes into.
I mean, still not as cool as James Hetfield. You betcha.
Little beer from my throat.
Nothing could ever top that. You better believe it.
Sound good out there. I know.
It's all right. It's not bad.
Yeah, so this is, I think James's voice, I think this is another example of, his voice on this release is absolutely killer. And so I really can't blame Crying Girl. She's obviously got some, notoriety within the Dream Theater fan base. People get into stuff for different reasons. I know that, for me, one of the lyrics in Spirit Carries On, I always think about it because it was in a poem that my mom read at my grandfather's funeral. So it always kind of reminds me of that because I've heard it in real life. It's something I can relate to. So maybe for this girl, who knows? Maybe she had somebody she was real close to. This was their song and they died recently or something, and she just got caught up. But yeah, she's pretty famous for this. So
yeah, but
if you've not seen Live Little Part, go ahead.
Well, that could be edited. She might have actually been crying like during Fortune and Lies, and you don't know because the way they just edit stuff. You know what I mean?
Dark Eternal Night.
Like, I just spent a fortune. Yeah, boo-hoo.
It's actually at the end of Dark Eternal Night. She's like, oh my god. It's like they just totally put it in the wrong spot. One of the things I liked about this, like, at the end of the song, James does kind of like, John Petrucci has that real songy kind of solo that he does as the song rides out, and James did kind of like a long vocal outro, kind of playing off it a little bit. I thought that was kind of cool. It was different. It was interesting. So Daniel Wilson, he says she's crying because she's like, when does this finish? Oh my god, their concerts are like 3 hours. What the hell?
Hey, 2 hours and 48 minutes. I timed it.
2 hours and 40, technically. 2 hours and 40.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, you're just You just thought the drum solo was twice as long because you're a hater on drum solos.
Right.
So, all right, we got the last two songs coming up, and what more do we need to say, man? I'll let you take it away. Breaking All Illusions.
So I have a question. I'm on the I'm of the belief that this is no, this is serious. This is the last big kind of anthem song that they have written. I don't think they've written one since this.
That
do you understand what I'm saying?
Wow,
or do I need to define it?
I know.
Like,
I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm trying to think of.
I don't think. I mean, if
they've got
say,
songs.
Maybe Our New World or something. Maybe. But it's still not. It's not the depth of this song.
Yeah, and I was actually going to say, there's stuff that like melodically, I think you could consider in the same realm as Breaking All Illusions that would be on, especially The Astonishing. But yeah, but the problem is that Breaking All Illusions is like a 8-9 minute song.
Yeah.
So you've got that melody and that majestic feel to it, but not that epic length.
Yeah, well, I think it's actually 11, but
oh, is it? Okay, I thought this was one of the ones that we said was like under 10.
No, but they do some. I think they put some stuff at the end of it also on this version. But it just kind of struck me as like, man, we haven't. Where's the song that like, oh God, I really hope they, not just because I like the song, but just sort of universally like this is the next anthem that's going to get played.
Yeah. Kale says Our New World, definitely. I'm not going to say definitely on that because that one's like less than half the length of Breaking All Illusions. And then he says At Wit's End, maybe. I love At Wit's End, but I don't get the I mean, if it just, and I can answer the question this way. Think about any song on the subsequent 4 Mangini records. Can you picture it being as perfect a show closer as Breaking All Illusions? I don't think there's a song that you can.
No,
you can say that too.
And I love At Wit's End a ton. It's probably it's definitely my favorite song off of that album. Pale Blue Dot I love too. But again, I'm not going to try to say those are in the company of Breaking All Illusions. I don't know. I just thought it was kind of interesting to where does a band get to a point to where, okay, they could still make killer albums and killer songs, but there's just not going to be that. You're kind of done making those just giant, huge songs, that sort of almost have to be a staple in the set list, even though I understand they don't play Breaking All Illusions every time. But you understand what I'm saying, though.
Oh, I completely understand what you're saying. And I just think, and that raises another question, though. Like, do they try to write that? Like, did they sit down and go, hey, let's write a song that obviously sounds like we're closing the show with this?
No, I don't. No, I don't think they do that. But I don't even think they did that intentionally on this one. Obviously, it just, it turns out to be a good, closer.
Yeah. Immediately when I heard this song, when the record came out, I was like, you can just picture him holding out those chords and Petrucci like waving and Chord like waving. Like, it just sounds like, okay, I'm at the end of the concert. And, so the song sounds like that. And I think, obviously being the last, second to last song on the record, we've been over that. I think this is another example right here of it being perfectly placed in the set list, because it's, right before the encore. And it just works so good. And, and as you said, they add to it. In this song, the slow guitar solo sounds amazing because he kind of like drags it out even more a little bit tempo-wise. And it's got that echo to it and the reverb. And it just sounds, man, and combined with that room ambiance to it, that big concert venue ambiance, it's just amazing. And then, the ending, the way they extend the ending out is just so good. Even though it's like, hey, why don't we just all just shred for a minute and a half? Like, it's just kind of cool, So, this is such a good version of that song.
I just think there's you can distinguish between, oh man, it'll be great if it's so cool that they pulled out whatever off a distance over time and pulled off they decided to play this off a View from the Top of the World, and it's not the same as saying, oh, they're playing Breaking All Illusions. You know what I mean? Like, you don't go, oh, Breaking All Illusions, that's off a Dramatic Turn. You just go, that's Breaking All Illusions. You know what I mean? It's like That's just
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. So it just kind of struck me watching it. Like, I just couldn't recall a song as much as I actually do love At Wit's End and Our New World. I think Kyle's probably pretty close. Our New World, I think, would be the closest thing to it. I think I would probably allow
Did you call him
that.
Kyle again?
Yeah.
You just
Kyle.
called him Kyle again?
Kale. Sorry, man.
Wow.
Well, if you heard what I'm listening to the entire show, your brain would be messed up too. It's pretty.
There'll
rough
definitely
here,
be
man.
a disclaimer on the audio version of this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be fixed next time. Don't you worry about that.
Kale knows I love him, man.
All
He
right,
knows
so
it's all good.
So do we even have to talk about Metropolis? I mean, it's Metropolis. I think the one note that I would take away is where the hell's the wizard hat been ever since this tour?
Yeah.
I love the wizard hat. Like,
Yeah.
like, where's that been, man? So yeah, Metropolis is Metropolis. I mean, what more can you say?
Yeah, I mean, if I had my druthers every show that we went to, you would just go ahead and play those two back to back to end it, and I'd be good. I wouldn't even care what the hell you played for the first hour and a half. Like, just end with Breaking All Illusions and Metropolis, and I'm good to go, man.
Yep, it's hard to argue with that, man. So Kale says A View from the Top of the World will be a great closer this year. And Daniel Wilson says, I agree. This will just crush it when we finally see him out here. Fingers crossed. So there you go. We've got votes for A View from the Top of the World. Yeah, I mean, that'll be cool. I think choosing one of those 24-minute epics is a little bit obvious, I would say. You know, because you could say, well, do they have other songs like that? Well, yeah, like Octavarium and Change of Seasons and stuff like. But, yeah, hey, you know, back to your point, ending a show with Breaking All Illusions and Metropolis, that pretty much sends you home happy, I think.
Yeah.
So, well, cool, man. Well, I obviously don't want to keep going too much longer because I've sounded like absolute ass all night. So, time for me to update my computer. I don't know what the hell happened, but it figures that, right as we go live, I start getting notifications that says your device needs to restart to install updates. So that's probably what it is. But yeah, this was fun, man. It was interesting. It was interesting revisiting this because, again, I hadn't rewatched the concert in quite a long time. So it was fun kind of revisiting it, and I got some of the things. I had the exact same feeling. Like, I don't think that room has a lot of vibe to it. Mangini just blows you away when you see him play. But I did get some new stuff out. I got some new appreciation for some of the Dramatic Turn songs. Like watching the camera work was just fantastic. The clarity of everything was, it just looks fantastic. It's their best looking, live Blu-ray release. So it was cool, man. So did you get anything new out of this? I mean, considering, you probably got everything new because you forgot we even saw it, but
No, I knew we saw it. I had the name wrong. Yeah, no, like we said, the stuff with the strings was awesome. The little acoustic parts, Silent Man sounds awesome like that. And I think that's a song when we saw the movie, I was like, I don't even hardly remember this because wasn't much of a fan of Awake in general. So when they started, I probably wouldn't even know it, but I knew Beneath the Surface because I always loved that.
Sure.
But yeah, now, this is going to be my go-to, like, when we go see him next month, and I'm pissed because they literally don't play a single song off this album. I can come home and go, there's 7 songs sitting there for me when I get home. I could fire up my streaming service. But yeah, great concert. I mean, I'd be interested. So you have the other disc then that's got the rest of them then?
It's all in the same. It's on the same Blu-ray disc.
Same Blu-ray, okay.
Yeah, so it's got the special features. There's really not much there. There's like a 20-minute documentary of them, at the venue and them going out to dinner. It kind of just says, hey, we got rid of Portnoy and now here's Mangini and here's how the tour is going.
Yeah.
They've got the animated, like the little, remember the cartoon they did for like Dark Eternal Night and Octavarium and stuff? They've got one for one of the songs. It's escaping me which one it is right now, but it might be Outcry. But they've got like a multi-camera version of Outcry on there. They've got the 6 songs that they didn't put on the main concert. They've got the videos of those on there. They have what's the other? Oh yeah, the guys that made, like, the crew that put the DVD together, that filmed it and put it together. They have a documentary. I mean, it's only like 3-4 minutes long. There's really nothing much to it, but so there's not a lot. I mean, it's definitely not like what Portnoy used to do, where there's like crap loads of special features. But it's cool. It's interesting.
Kale says they got to play something off of this on this View tour. Seriously. Okay, so what song do you think they would play if they're going to? Is it too obvious, or?
I mean, considering that they've played Breaking All Illusions a bunch, I would think they would do something different.
Yeah, me too.
I don't think they would do On the Backs of Angels. So if you could hear anything but Breaking All Illusions or On the Backs of Angels, which one would you pick?
As far as what I think they probably would play, maybe Bridges in the Sky.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe that sounds either that, or I know you don't care that much for the song, but This Is the Life is always kind of a big crowd song. The crowd seems to always get into that. They might bust that out for a mid-tempo tune or something. I don't know.
Okay. Well, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'd love to hear Lost but Not Forgotten, but I'm not going to pretend that they would even. I just don't see them entertaining that even.
There you go. You have a brother there, Nick Brayman. He says, "I hope they play Bridges on the new tour." Honestly, I think they will, because they haven't really touched on this record outside of Breaking All Illusions since the dramatic turn tour. I've never seen anything besides Breaking All Illusions since then.
The problem
maybe
is,
it's time to break it out.
We've got a brand new album, and one of them is, I think we're all pretty much sure they're going to play the title track, right? So there's 21 minutes right there.
Yeah. Well, you got the Alien is like what, 9 minutes, and then you basically have half an hour of like a 2 hour and 20-minute show. So, or maybe even just a 2 hour show.
And I think they're going to play Awaken the Master too, because Jordan's doing too many videos showing him how he put the song together and all this and that. So I don't know. I kind of have a feeling that one might be coming also.
Well, why bust out the 8-string if you're not going to do it live? Like
exactly.
We finally wrote a song with an 8-string. We're never going to play it live, of course. We just wanted to say, hey, look what I got. Like, right. Check out my new toy.
But there's another 10 minutes, right? So I mean, I don't know. Are you going to no? So I know normally you do not want to know what the set list is. You're just keep with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, it's funny because Kale sent me a message a couple weeks ago, and it was real early in the morning, so I didn't understand what he was saying. But he mentioned second song of the set was "Take Away My Pain." I think he said, he's like, second song of the set is off your favorite record. I was like, damn it, I don't want set list spoilers. He's like, no, my show, read it. Like, read my I was like, oh, okay. I thought he had gotten a hold of a set list, and he was telling me that like the second track was off of Falling Into Infinity. I was like, damn it, I don't want to know anything about the set list. So, I know what I want to hear, but we'll see.
I'm going to predict right now we'll get 4 songs. No, I'll say 3 songs from the new album. We will not get a song from Dramatic Turn. I don't see it.
Okay. Kale says, I kind of have a feeling they might be doing Count of Tuscany. Jordan showed off the solo from that a little while ago.
Wow. Well, that would be that would be amazing.
I don't think they can they?
No, they don't have time. There's no way, man. That would be 2 20-minute songs if they're going to do the title from the new one.
What if What if they just do the new songs and the whole rest of the show is Count of Tuscany, Octavarium, and Change of Seasons?
You would be thrilled. So would I guess.
Yeah. So that I'd be like, seriously, we're gonna get like 6 songs? Like, what the hell?
What they should do is get like a Dream Theater cover band to open with them to do like, an album of whatever that they don't feel like playing. And the fans can tell those guys what to play, and then they can play what they want afterwards.
It just seems like these guys are pulling out the most badass B-sides, but it's actually coming straight from Petrucci.
Exactly.
Like, you're going to play Status Seeker tonight.
Yeah. No, that would be sweet.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for sticking through the microphone stuff, dude. Like I say, this will be fixed next time, everybody. Appreciate all you guys for sitting through my crappy microphone. I don't know what the hell happened, but I actually have not been on my computer since we did our fan hangout on December 23rd. So, I'm getting, as I said, update notifications. So I don't usually like to bring up behind the scenes stuff, but it sounded like ass the whole time apparently. So, I will have that fixed. So Brian, it was awesome to get back into doing this. Can't wait to do it again. We will be right back here in 2 weeks. It will be January 27th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook, YouTube, talkingintoinfinity.com, and the CMS Network.com. So come hang out with us. As you saw, you can jump in the chat, be a part of the show. Again, the audio will sound normal again, so that's a good thing. And hey, man, this was fun, and I will talk to you. Well, I'm probably sure I'll be talking to you, getting bitched out after we hang up here, but I will see you in a couple weeks, man.
Sounds good, buddy. Bye.
All right, take care, everyone.